Welcome to my channel, The Binge Eating Therapist. I'm Sarah, former binge eater turned psychotherapist, and my mission is to use this space to bring content to you that will help you understand your struggle with food and break free from binge eating. Now, something that I've observed in pretty much every person who binge eats is that we all have a tendency towards black and white and all or nothing thinking. And I mean, just look at binge eating. It really is the ultimate manifestation of the all or nothing, because you're either eating everything or you're not eating enough, or you're telling yourself that you shouldn't be eating anything. And, you know, if I ask people to describe a bad day of eating, they can do that easily. If I ask them to describe a good day of eating, they can do that easily. And by bad and good, I mean like in their minds what's bad or good. But if I ask them to, like, what is just an average, neither good, neither bad day of eating, they really struggle. I mean, could you do that if you were to ask yourself what would be a day of eating that's neither good nor bad? If you're someone who struggles with the all or nothing thinking, that might not be an easy task. So I get a lot of questions from people saying, well, okay, I know that I struggle with this black and white thinking. I know that it keeps tripping me up. So how do I stop doing it? Which makes me smile a little bit, because that idea that we just have to completely stop all our black and white thinking kind of is in and of itself like black and white thinking, right? There's a kind of irony to that. So I thought I would do this video to bring to you 3 ways to manage black and white thinking. So number 1 is to start noticing it. To get better at noticing your thoughts is a really, really evolved and helpful skill to have in life. So if you've never heard of a woman called Byron Katie, I highly recommend, after watching this video, you check out some of her stuff. She does this thought work, which involves capturing the thought and questioning it and looking at it from all angles and then letting it go. And for me, I can honestly say that that woman changed my life. I have huge love and admiration and respect for her. So it might be something that's helpful for you. There were many times when I was right on the brink of despair, catastrophe, and using her tools helped bring me back. And another one that's worth mention is a woman called Brooke Castillo, and she has the Life Coach School podcast, and she does a lot of stuff around thought work as well and challenging the way that you think. So it's all very well knowing that we're prone to black and white, all or nothing thinking, but it's developing that ability to recognize what we're doing. Now, the black and white thinking will then go, well, if we recognize what we're doing, we have to change it straight away. Like, hold your horses. That's the black and white thinking again. Just recognize the urge to be like all in or all out, that all or nothing that is such a big part of the psychology around binge eating. So that's the first step, is to get better at recognizing your black and white thinking and being able to name it as black and white thinking. And then the second part is acceptance. Now, the all or nothing thinker doesn't really like acceptance. Acceptance sounds a bit wishy-washy. It doesn't really sound like doing. And the fear is that if you accept something, like, nothing will change. But actually, when we accept that there's part of us that just thinks like this, you're not defective in some way because you struggle with black and white thinking. So many of us have a tendency towards this. And there'll be ways in your life that actually your thinking style and the way you process the world is to your advantage. You know, perhaps you're someone that can be really productive in a short amount of time. And that can be really helpful for you when it comes to just getting things done. So it's worth just taking a moment to kind of notice perhaps where in your life your black and white all or nothing thinking might be serving you. And then so recognizing that, okay, we've got this part of us that's there. Maybe it's part of our personality. And we're not looking at completely changing your personality. There's nothing wrong with your personality. What we want to do is understand the impact that the way you think is having, and figuring out where it trips you up and where it leads you into self-sabotage. So when you move away from that, oh my goodness, I'm a black and white thinker and I have to change everything about myself. When you move into acceptance, like acceptance and all or nothing thinking, they're not very compatible. So every time you choose acceptance, you are finding some balance and you are softening that tendency to the black and white and all or nothing thinking. And then the third one might sound a bit strange, but the third one is to practice humility. Now, what do I mean by humility? I think being humble or having humility is often misunderstood as somehow being one down from the other person. I can remember years ago a therapist saying to me, Sarah, I think you struggle with humility. And that really stung actually at the time, because what I heard when she said that was that you're arrogant, that you clearly look down on other people, you think you're better than everybody else. That was what I heard with her words. And there's it's quite a well-known quote, and I don't know who it was, I'm afraid, but they said that humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. And I really like that, because there's something about binge eating as well, because it's so distressing and because it's so compulsive, like we get pulled into ourselves, and like what's going on out there with everyone else just doesn't really matter. Like that moment before a binge, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me it was like nothing else mattered at that time, like nothing. I don't know what I would have been capable of in order to binge. I don't think I was ever pushed that far to the test, but I certainly hear stories of people who are extremely ashamed of their behaviour or the things that they've done in order to get food or to be able to binge in a particular moment. So like humility and any sense of humbleness just goes out of the window with binge eating. And that doesn't mean that you're selfish, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that your focus gets pulled inwards. And actually, so by practicing humility, and I've called this last one practicing it, because it's just a choice to think about something beyond yourself. Now, if you're spiritually minded, that might be God or a higher power or something like that. And if that's not your jam, it might just be a relationship or someone else or some way, like, so that when you put your head on your pillow at night, even if you've binged and you feel terrible about yourself, you can say, I did that, I checked on that friend today, or, you know, we're in lockdown at the moment, so maybe I took some shopping to that person, or whatever it might be. That small act of doing something for someone else to make someone else's day or life a little bit better helps to bring a sense of purposefulness, but also it kind of creates that balance between our experience of the world and other people's experience of the world, and how we influence that and kind of interact in sort of a flow or balanced sense. So back to that quote about humility, it's not thinking less of yourself. You are worthy and valuable just as you are. But it's about making an intention to kind of shift your attention, make an intention to shift your attention onto someone or something else. Because that all or nothing thinking wants to be completely absorbed in whatever it is that's going on. So, my fellow black and white thinkers, it is perfectly okay to be wired this way. You know, I am, and I just had to notice like how my processes serve me and how they get in my way. And I find that when I recognize my thinking, and I find when I just accept this part of me that just is a little bit more wired this way, and when I practice humility, those three things together just help me feel balanced, so that I can use this all or nothing in the areas of my life where perhaps I want to drive something forward, and I can help to veer away from times when this kind of thinking might lead me into self-sabotage. So my friends, thank you for listening. See you on the next video.